that's really interesting. I've just spent a bunch of time at home in Denver with my folks. I'm at grown up home now, just outside of Seattle. But I've just spent a bunch of time visiting my folks and sleeping in my childhood bedroom. So I've been thinking a lot about little Liz and what she would have thought about where I am now. And, what I'll say is that my entire career, I spent a long time, for a lot of years, I really thought I was going to end up being one kind of therapist or another. And then in my late 20s, I took myself to therapy. And
took yourself?
I mean, I went to therapy.
Yeah.
I got engaged. I found a great therapist. Yeah. I started going. And I found some things out about myself. One of which is I don't want to be a therapist for anybody else. But actually, that's the beginning of my emotional intelligence journey, because what I really found out when I started doing this deep personal work on myself was I had very little capacity for allowing myself to feel my emotions. Allowing myself to express what I was feeling, especially those emotions we kind of think of as more difficult: anger, fear, frustration. I really struggled to allow myself to feel that. And so I had to do a lot of work just to give myself access to my own heart. And that was a lot of work. It is a lot of work, right? I mean, it's one of the nice things about emotional intelligence. I think people never done.
No, I think people think like, oh, it's fixed. Like, no, it's like once you're on the ride, it doesn't. I don't think it gets off. I think it maybe gets a little bumpier, but you get a little more confident in yourself.
Okay. And here's the great thing about, you're going to hear me say about 10 times in the course of our conversation, here's the great thing about emotional intelligence. So here's a great thing about emotional intelligence. It never stops growing, right? When you think about IQ or cognitive intelligence, when we measure IQ, it tends to stay the same across a person's lifetime. And then at the end, when we get older, when our brains aren't as sharp, when they're not as malleable, our cognitive intelligence drops a little bit. So IQ kind of is like a straight line and then dips a little bit toward the end of our lives, if we're lucky enough to live to be very old. Emotional intelligence, on the other hand, especially if we work on it, we just get better and better and better. We grow. We increase our capacity for empathy, for understanding our own emotions, for tolerating stress. We can take what we've learned from situations in the past and apply them to be more emotionally intelligent day to day. And if you want a great example of that, just take a moment and picture yourself at 18, 20 years old. And think about what kind of decisions that 18-year-old was making based on their emotions. Were they, there you go.
It's just,
right?
Yeah.
How did that 18-year-old, how did that precious baby understand their emotions, express their emotions to other people, develop relationships, handle stress? How good were they at making decisions when there was emotional information involved? If you're anything like the vast majority of us, you can look at that 18-year-old and look at where you are today, and you can see pretty clearly you are way more emotionally intelligent now than you were at that. You were right where you needed to be when you were 18, but that's not where you are anymore. So our EQ.
Thank the universe. Thank whatever higher power creator, whatever you believe, like you think whatever that is. Yeah.
That's right. So we grow, right? We get better, we get deeper. We EQ is really just a set of skills, right? It's not some like big mysterious thing. It's just a set of skills that
it's if you were, if you could do like something in a, related to any sports, wellness, whatever, it is a training.
That's right.
It is a training that you do have to get into. And with every training comes a certain spectrum of pain.
That's right.
Either
That's
internal or external. And so I think that's the difficult piece, that a lot of times when you see on these you could be on job description out there, you have some speaker, somebody says, oh, the leadership say, oh, we got to have somebody with emotional intelligence. And I think, oh, well, they must have gone through some painful shit to get to that. Because to me, I'm thinking in my mind how I had to overcome it and get to a point of emotional intelligence. I'm like, well, that ain't easy. And so I'm thinking
Yeah.
it's a simple thing to slap up. Like, once somebody